Okay. There is no denying that Mamata Banerjee's governance in terms of industrial administration record is not the best in the country. Okay. This is not the state that everybody is looking at. In fact, the track record would be exactly the opposite of being investor friendly, even though she's tried to change. Okay, this is not the place where you're excited about the semiconductor factories and the new townships and stuff like that. But is that enough? Is there something latent there in the Bengali voter? As I mentioned, there is. Okay, let me put it this way. There is a Victoria Memorial in Kolkata. Okay, it's a tribute to Victoria, Queen Victoria. Okay, it still is the Victoria Memorial. And we were running a campaign here on NewsX that this should become a partition museum for the partition that happened in the East. We always talk about the partition in the West. Bengal was partitioned. Let's make it a partition museum. A lot of people in Bengal on the streets of Kolkata were upset. They didn't want that to change. Not because they have some love for Queen Victoria, but they have a love for what was. And 100 years of being at the epicenter of governance, art, culture, cinema, literature, is that still an emotive factor for Bengalis, and then they just can't get on board with the BJP because of that?
No, well, Rishabh, that is a pretty interesting, take on the Bengali psyche. And yes, they, as Himanshu also says, they take their while. They give a long rope. They don't want change. They're happy with status quo, perhaps. But once they decide, do they really take that decision? Because Bengal has always voted, it's one way. Either you vote out a government in a big time, it's never a close call. So, that also we have to see in that sense. Are they ready to be shifted from status quo, or are they happy with what they are? A lot of them was very laid back, chalta hua votes. But, if you probe, as our reporter did on the ground, when he spoke to the women about security, one woman did come up and talk about the RG car case and about the fact that security is an issue, and it's not and the women's security is not so great in the state. So you have to probe a bit, and then they reveal their mind in that sense. Is it enough to vote out Mamata? That's something we'll see. But on ground, Rishabh, if you take a look at it, Mamata Banerjee elections, yes, development is always an issue. But as Omar Abdullah told me, once in an interview, he says, "Ye to log kehte ye to aapka farz hai." He said, I told them when he lost his election, he said, I said, "Maine ye constituency kiya, I got this college, I got this hospital." So they all said, "Haan, wo to aapka farz hai na." So they want that something extra, and that something extra is emotion. Emotion. Why did Narasimha Rao lose that election despite bringing in those 91 reforms? At the end of the day, emotion plays a role, whether it is Hindutva, Hinduism, whether it is, a love for a local leader, the connect the leader has. There is that human touch that, something that pollsters cannot really put the finger on.
Okay.
It's not a category that you put on the election opinion poll, say, is this why you're voting for her? It goes beyond development. It goes beyond security. It goes beyond issues. There is an emotion. And
I completely agree. Sorry to interrupt you. Mamata Banerjee speaking. Let's listen. A brief commentary by Mamata Banerjee on the security apparatus that has been brought, or in her views imposed upon Bengal for this election. Don't expect Mamata Banerjee to be anything but verbose, even as an election cycle draws down. Priya, quickly finish your thoughts, and I need to take a break.
Yeah, sure, Rishabh. So basically, I'm saying just BJP have that emotional connect. They don't have a local leader. They are making it either Mamata versus Modi election, or Mamata versus Amit Shah, because Amit Shah, as you pointed out in the beginning, has been camping there. He's made this his prestige issue. He addressed press conferences in the middle of the election campaign. So is it a Mamata versus Amit Shah, Mamata versus Modi? And do the BJP leaders have that same emotional connect, even though they don't have, they are seen as outsiders? Has she been successful in that?
So there's no denying it. Is there been an overarching Bengali face for the BJP who has been the face of this electoral campaign? The answer is no. It's not Suvendu Adhikari, it's not Mithun Chakrabarti, okay, it's not these faces. These are popular faces. Suvendu Adhikari beat Mamata Banerjee in Nandigram, okay, not too long ago. So these are not people who are incompetent or unknown. Mithun Chakrabarti, very well known, okay. It's not like Mamata Banerjee hasn't imported some cricketers from outside as well to come in campaign and contest. But it's going to boil down to Is there a pivot point? This has been one of the hardest elections the BJP has fought in Bengal. Okay. The BJP is on a roll after 2024. They're taking state after state after state. Nothing seems to be stopping them. They are convinced that the women and the young people will see a future rather than nostalgia as the reason to vote, and they are a better bet for a progressive future, not necessarily Mamata and Abhishek Banerjee. Okay, quick break. We come back with more voices from the ground to educate this conversation. See you in a minute.